Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. And sorry, it's not a touch screen. Vanchakalpachubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So thank you all for coming, and I really want to ask, blessings from everybody, and I want to pray to Krishna and Prabhupada that our discussion here tonight may bring up practical and relevant ways of which we can apply Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes we read the Bhagavad Gita and we understand the Bhagavad Gita, and yet if we could just apply sometimes even a verse or two, our life could be transformed. And yet sometimes we don't know how to practically do that, how to practically apply the principles. So I know that you've all read the qualities of a devotee, and one of those qualities is compassion. And I'm sure that all of you want to have compassion. And yet, it seems sometimes in our day-to-day exchanges, especially with the people who live the closest to us, our friends, our families, our ashram friends, that's where it seems to be hard to keep up our humble, respectful ways. Sometimes we can be humble and respectful with others that we're not so close to, but with our family, there's no faking it. It doesn't work. They know us too well. So this is where compassion can be really practiced at a high level. At the same time, we might not want to start with the most challenging of relationships to practice compassion, because if we mess it up there, then we might give up the practice. There's another place where we definitely want to start being compassionate. Does anybody know where that place is? Who is the first person we want to start practicing compassion with? Yes, with our own self. Yes, with our own self. Is there any way that we can change the gallery view? Because I don't really want to look at myself. It's a little distracting. I'd rather look at other people's faces. The view up here. Yeah. That's better. Thank you. Thank you. Now I can see the people who are in the class, at least the people who have their cameras on. Okay. If you can, then I can see you and I can talk to you and address you. So the first person we want to have compassion on is ourself. Now, it is also quite difficult to have compassion with ourselves because we know all the things that we've done which are not quite in alignment with our devotional life. I'd like to maybe shift the word then from compassion to understanding, to kindness, to self-awareness. If we could start practicing self-awareness, just even being aware of what we feel and what we need, that awareness can bring us great, like a new perspective of how to communicate with other people. So compassionate communication basically has 4 elements. And the most important are the second and the third, but I'm going to go over all 4 aspects. So the first aspect of compassion, compassionate communication, is called observation. So what observation does for us, it gives us a chance to pause. Generally, our mind in any situation goes right into judgment, and from judgment, it goes right into strategy. That's how fast our mind works. So someone says, I don't want to help you with your project. Immediately, they're mean, they don't care, nobody cares. I have to do everything all myself. Immediately, judgments come up. Now, if we pause for a moment and say, okay, what just happened? What happened was that person said they didn't want to help me with my project. That's really all that happened in reality. And then my mind, which is, by the way, a meaning-making machine, my mind made up a lot of meanings. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to help me. I have to do everything alone. All these meanings we added. Now, these meanings that we add tend to generate feelings because they come from a place of the past. The judgments that we have in our head come from a place in the past.
हाँ, मैं भी वही सोच रहा था कि अगर दूध है तो गर्म कर देते हैं.
I think someone has their mic unmuted. Is it okay now? Okay. So the judgments that come in our mind start stirring up emotions. Now, if we can continue to pause, we made the observation, someone said, I don't want to help you with your project. Then we had all the judgments. Then we can also even observe the judgments. Then we can say, I'm feeling, a bit frustrated. I'm feeling kind of hurt. Yeah. So when we get present to the feelings, it kind of takes us down one notch. And then we can be a little curious. What do I need? Hey, I need some support. I need some encouragement. I can't do everything by myself. Okay, so then that brings us down another notch, and then we can just say, okay, so I'm feeling hurt and a little agitated because I need some support and some encouragement. Okay, maybe this person wasn't able to give me that support and encouragement. Now, the next person I ask, I might be able to ask it in another way. So those are the first three elements of compassionate communication. And in that example, I used both observation of the external event and observation of the internal event, what was going on in my mind. In this way, when we can observe our own mind, we actually start to see the difference between us and our mind, and then we can use our mind as our friend. Our mind is actually meant to help us, but when our mind listens to the judgments that it's making, the meaning-making mind, and then if we believe those judgments that the mind is making, it stirs up a lot of upset. If, on the other hand, I can observe what my mind is telling me, and I can have a little compassion for the soul that does need some support and encouragement, I can move beyond a reaction and move into a response. Now, there was a, I don't know if any of you have heard of, what's his name? Frankl? Viktor Frankl, thank you. He was in a concentration camp, in fact, more than one concentration camp, and he was there for quite a while. And what happened to him was, they were really, concentration camps are so harsh. Now, at one point, this is the story that was retold to me by Varshana Maharaj. At one point, they wanted to humiliate him because they really wanted to just break down your morale and break down everything. They stripped him naked and were beating him, and they took everything from him. But then they noticed he had a ring on his finger. It was his wedding ring. And then they wanted to take that from him. And at first he was, quite attached, like, but what could he do? They took his ring. And in that moment, he paused and he realized they can take everything physical away from me, but they can't take away my dignity. They can't take away my consciousness. They can't take away my power of choice of how I respond to this incident. They can't make me angry unless I become angry. So his statement was, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space, there's the possibility of making a choice. And from that choice, we create a new future. And we all have this possibility. We all have this chance. We're given a certain amount of karma. Our karma just comes to us. That's what we've gotten in this lifetime. Now, how we react or respond to this karma creates the future. If we resist and we react, we actually create more reaction and action. When we pause for a minute, and then we consciously choose a response, we can create a new future. When we don't pause, we actually recreate the same past over and over. Reaction is nothing but recreating our karma. Now, I know all of you are practicing devotees, and no one wants to recreate their karma. Everyone wants to become free of their karma. We want to practice a karma, right? However, we're wired inside, and it's called conditioning. Prabhupada's called it conditioning. And we're conditioned from our childhood and from our past life, from the subtle body that we've brought to us in this life. We're conditioned. And that conditioning, I was thinking about it today. It's really interesting. That conditioning, scientists and doctors have understood that conditioning is programmed into every cell of our body. And this morning I was thinking about that because sometimes we can understand our conditioning. Why do I keep getting angry? Why do I keep getting hurt? Why do I keep feeling this way? We can understand it, but sometimes we can't shift it. So it's because consciousness is stored, and it's stored in the cells of our body. And I was thinking about it, and actually consciousness, right? The soul, the consciousness of the soul pervades every cell of our body. That's how our body is functioning. The whole body is conscious. The cells in our body communicate through the blood and through the nerves. It's all conscious because of the soul. And the soul brings that consciousness, but that consciousness is covered by our subtle body, by our mind and our false ego and all the consciousness that we had in the past that we have up until this day. So it's all programmed in us. So we can't think our way or theorize our way out of our programming. We can't do that. Even as much as we understand Krishna consciousness, we see as devotees, oftentimes we react. And then sometimes we even see older devotees reacting, and we're like, wait a minute, they've been in this movement for, what's wrong? Why are they reacting? It's in all the cells of our body. And it really takes a presence. It takes really a lot of attention and a wherewithal to pause. If we pause and take one breath, we have a chance to break the cycle. If we don't pause, the cycle, it's already in motion. It's got momentum. It's just going to keep going. We want to break the cycle. We want to break the patterns. We want to change the paths in our brain, the neural pathways in our brain. Now, Krishna is such a great and amazing God, the personality of Godhead. He's so great and amazing. He actually made our body to be able to heal itself. We can even change the neural pathways in our brain. Our brain is the scientists are understanding about neuroplasticity. I know a woman who was 105 and she was learning how to speak Spanish at 105. We can actually change the patterns. It's going to take something. It's going to take presence. It's going to take attention. It's going to take focus and consciousness. Now, we might say, I don't have enough time to focus. I'm too much in a hurry. I have too much service to focus. I'm just going to chant Hare Krishna and it's all going to disappear. That would really be nice. When we read that when we chant, that automatically the good qualities will come and our anarthas will disappear. Automatically doesn't mean immediately, and it also doesn't mean mechanically. It also doesn't mean unconsciously. Automatically, as we chant, the discrepancies and the things which are not in alignment with our soul self will come up into our conscious vision. And they come up so that we can actually do something with them. However, if we push them down again and we hold on to them, they aren't going anywhere. They're staying right with us. So it behooves us to understand our conditioning and understand what kinds of things trigger us and what kinds of things get us upset. It behooves us to start being self-compassionate and start understanding what are the warning signals, what emotions are coming up in me. You know, a lot of times men in general, this is a generalization, it's not true of all men, but in general, men have been taught in their life to suppress their emotions from when they're a very little child. It's conditioning that's passed on for generations. Don't cry. Don't be a baby. Be a man. Be a big boy. I'll give you something to cry about, right? Little girls cry, oh, what happened? Oh, poor you. Oh, no wonder girls express their emotion. They get attention. When boys express their emotion, they get chastised. No wonder men suppress their emotions. It's not surprising. However, it's not healthy to suppress, and it's not completely healthy just to express and be enveloped in emotion. Either side doesn't necessarily get us any transformation. What happens when we become aware of our emotion, for men and for women, when we name our emotion, then we can be a little curious, what do I need? What's going on? What do I need? Feelings. The feelings are there. Krishna designed our body to give us warning signals because we're pretty unconscious. Human beings are pretty unconscious. So he gave us pain in the body. If something's wrong, oh my gosh, what happened? What did I do? Oh, my stomach hurts. Oh, maybe I ate something that wasn't good for me. We immediately get messages. But when our emotions come up, we tend to like, I shouldn't feel emotions. I should be transcendental. And we push them away or push them down. Or even better, we throw them on other people. I'll get rid of my emotions. I'll throw it on somebody else. And then generally, it comes right back at us. So we want to be conscious of our emotions, to name them, not because we want to wallow in the emotion, not because we want to reinforce the emotion. We want to use the emotion as a early warning signal. Something is going on here. Something needs my attention. What needs my attention? I need something. What do I need? Can you open up your second book and get the yellow card out, please, for me? So it's really important that we notice these things. The most important parts of compassionate communication and compassionate understanding, self-understanding, just 123, page 123. There you go. Thank you. Thank you. The most important part of compassionate understanding is that we understand our feelings and our needs. So inside the second book, here is a card, which I give people. And I made this card yellow and I made it small for a reason, because when it's a yellow card, you can find it amongst a bunch of white papers. When it's small enough, you could put it in your shirt pocket, or you could put it in your bead bag or your purse, and you could carry it around. And having this card, I mean, people may think, I'm not going to carry around a yellow card. However, it's really a simple way to remind me to pause. Oh yeah, that yellow card. Okay, yeah, what am I feeling? So on one side of the card is feelings. I know you can't see this too much online. Oh, it's over here. There's the camera. And on the other side is our needs. So our needs are universal and they are connected to our soul. The soul needs security. It has individuality. It has personality. It needs the security of some kind of identity. And when it doesn't have clear security, it reaches out in the material world for security, financial security, emotional security from another person. You know, we have needs for connection, for belonging, for acceptance, for love. Everybody wants to be loved and to love. That's our nature. That's our constitutional nature. We have the need for relationships, for companionship. It's natural. In our Shastras, we read all about relationships, all about so many bhavas, so many feelings and emotions. And yet in this world, we're trying to push all the emotions down and develop love simultaneously. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. You push down your pain and your emotions, you are pushing down love too. And what you're going to get is maybe an idea or a thought or an illusion of love, but you're not going to get that real feeling of love. You're not going to be able to get that. So observation, pause. The yellow card helps you to pause. What am I observing? What happened? What really happened? Oh, observing. What did I make that mean? Observing even closer. What am I feeling? Then asking your mind, what am I needing? Get your mind to help you. Your mind wants to help you, but you've got to ask. You, the soul self, have got to ask the mind the questions. If you just listen to the mind is going to say its agenda, which is generally just judgment. When you ask the mind questions, you can direct the mind to give you some really good answers that are going to really help you. What am I feeling? I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know. I don't know. And look on the car. I don't know. I'm feeling disturbed. I'm feeling agitated, angry. Okay, what do I need? I don't know what I need. Generally, we don't have a very good feelings vocabulary or a good vocabulary on needs. So this card can help you. And this card is is right inside this second book here. Everybody gets a copy of that. And if you don't have a copy of the book, you can look online for the feelings and needs for nonviolent communication. They're there. So these things help us to name. Once we name and distinguish the feelings and the needs, when we give it a name, we can more easily grasp what's going on. We live in a lot of vagueness, but we don't name what's going on. We don't observe it. We don't put our finger on it. We don't understand it. But then we expect everybody else to understand it. Well, you should understand, hey, I'm stressed out right now. Well, I didn't understand that you were stressed out. You were yelling at me. It felt like you were being mean. I didn't know you were I didn't know you didn't get any sleep last night. How can we know unless it's expressed? We somehow think everybody's going to know what we're thinking, feeling, and needing when we don't even know it, when we don't even name it. And we have an expectation that people are going to be able to understand us and help us and get it when we come on, Prabhu, help me out here. Come on. We try to convince them, but we don't tell them that we need support and we're feeling stressed out. We don't say that. We just expect them to understand. So these first three elements of compassionate communication are really important. And having compassion for ourselves, again, helps us to understand. So now I think there's a question. Can I pull this closer? It's a comment? Okay. So I wanted to ask if there were any questions just at this point in the game. Can we have questions now? Is that okay? So if anybody has a question, so do I unmute them or do they? So that.
Can I ask a question?
Okay, I don't know who's talking.
Mataji,
Okay, there you are. Okay, yes, please.
yes, Mataji.
I can't see because
Mataji,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much for sparing time to spend with us in Pune. We have been looking forward to your visit for a long time. I attended your whole seminar yesterday. I'm very happy to hear from you today as well. Mataji, one of the things that you said, it really struck me because it keeps cropping up. See, as we chant, and if we take that seriously, it really churns our hearts and a lot of emotions, many things come up. And you briefly spoke that that's a trigger that we need to handle them. Could you please elaborate on that?
Yes. Yeah. Think about when you said churn, think about when the demons and the demigods were churning, and what was coming out was the poison, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And when we do a health detox, right? The first things that come up when we do a detox or a fast, the poisons come up, right? Because we're wanting to purify stuff. So when we chant, the emotional toxins and conditioning are naturally going to come up. It's a churning. The chanting is a churning. So they're coming up not to give us pain, not to smother us, but they're coming up so that we can understand them and integrate the lessons of what they have to show us. So I'll give an example. Let's see. What's a good example here? Okay. So one time, I was talking to my then husband and I was getting really agitated. And he said, "Why are you so angry at my brother? And why are you so angry at me?" Now, because I was in the process of observing and considering and, reflecting, I paused and I said, "I don't know. I didn't come here to be angry at you. Clearly, I am angry. I don't exactly know why I'm angry." So I thought about it. And it actually took me 3 days. I thought, why was I angry? Why was I angry? Why was I angry? Why was I angry? And then what came to me after 3 days, it was like an epiphany almost. I went to him because two devotees were fighting, and I wanted him to stop the fight, and he wouldn't stop the fight. So I was mad at him for not stopping the fight. So that was one level of understanding. A few hours later, I kept thinking about it and kept thinking about it. Where did that come from? What was that about? And in that next few hours, I was listening to a class, and all of a sudden I heard a little voice in my head, a little girl saying, "He's hurting me. He's hurting me. Make him stop hurting me." And a tear came in my eye. So that little girl was me as a little girl. And I would rub my arm because my brother would punch me. And I would go to my mother crying, and I wanted her to stop the fight, but it went on for 10 years. So like these things are all connected. And when they churn and they come up, we can kind of see the truth. Oh, yeah, it was connected to that. And then we can work on healing that, understanding, oh, I made it mean that they didn't love me, understanding our stories, our myths, and then really working to heal those pained parts of us that have been hurt, that have been neglected, and that we've neglected by pushing them down. So instead of neglecting them, we address those parts like we would a person that we would care about. If another person came to us, would we neglect them? We would listen to them. We may give them some comfort, but we don't tend to do that to ourselves. I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Yes, Mataji.
Did that answer
Yes,
the question? So this churning is meant to bring all these unhealed parts of it up, because if we don't bring them up and heal them, they keep coming up. Every time the same kind of situation happens with the same energy, I'm going to get angry again because I'm still angry at my mother because I didn't heal that. So that took me some time, but understanding that the anger was really at my mother and he was just reflecting a behavior that reminded me of my mother. It really helped me to heal the relationship with my mother. And then it doesn't come up now, but it did take time for me to heal that.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much. There's no quick fix, Mataji. We have to go through
There are
that
no
again.
quick fixes. Quick
Thank you.
fixes are action reaction, and quick fixes keep samsara going. There's no quick fixes. There's no quick fixes back to Godhead. Sorry.
Thank you, Mataji. Haribo.
Hare Krishna. Now there's Rani. You want to ask your question?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Danat Pranam. Mataji,
Hare
it's a very wonderful, beautiful session that I'm attending. I cannot emphasize the importance of this, especially in this age of this generation kids. Especially we are finding that they are also stressed out. The teenagers in this COVID situation, plus those who are writing boards, and especially the teenagers, I'm finding are very stressed out. And though we are in Krishna consciousness, we are not able to direct their this thing. Though we say that it is more or less everybody is in the same situation. So, but then they are not able to empathize. They're not able to understand what we are trying to communicate. So, Mataji, just a request, if you can have some sessions for teenagers, something which can, because when we advise kids, they normally don't take our advice. But I think especially coming from an experienced person such as you, I think would be very great, would be wonderful for our kids. So I'd request for a session where you can please address teenagers. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'd like to address what you said. So yes, I would say teenagers, it's a very stressful time for a teenager because you have to figure out, what the heck am I doing here in this world? What the heck am I going to do with my life? Who am I? I don't even know who I am. What am I supposed to do? And then all this pressure, and the pressure starts usually when you're around 3 or 4 or 5 at the latest, because you start having exams when you're 5 years old. India is really, really stressful on the academic arena. And because there's so much competition to get the best grades, to get the best schools to get the best jobs. There's so much competition. Stress begins at the age of 3, 4, and 5. Not healthy. Not healthy. Now, there are some parents who choose to not put their kids in those stressful environments. And I'm not criticizing anybody who does. And I'm not criticizing, India or anything like that. There's stress in every country. However, what can we do as parents and elders to relieve the stress of our children? Maybe we don't press them so hard. Maybe we don't put so much pressure on their grade exams when they're 3, if they don't know how to write proper letters. Maybe we just say, that's okay. You need a little more practice. Maybe we're a little kind to them. Maybe we don't add more stress and say, your neighbor did better than you. Why didn't you do as good? You got to do better. And little kids, it's tough. They don't need stress. They need love. Yeah. So, what can we do to love them and help them? Now, teenagers, oh my gosh, in child development, this is important to understand. There are 2 phases where independence actually needs to be developed. At the age of 2, when a child learns that they can say no, they can say no. Now, that no may not be respected, but they can say no. Now, still, as a 2-year-old, the parent has a lot of control, so the child may not be able to do much. As a teenager, you'll notice that the teenagers are they're growing pretty fast, and the teenagers are often bigger than the parents. So the teenagers you make me do that. They want their independence, and they're going to maybe resist because they want to express their independence, and you can't really force them. Now, I hear you saying it would be really great if I could give them advice. And I think when a child's a teenager, really at any age, but especially as a teenager, they need our love. They need our compassion. They do not need our advice. They need our love. They need our support. They need our compassion. They need our trust. We've given them as much as we can. We've given them Krishna consciousness. We've given them as much as we can. We want to trust. They have a soul and Krishna's in their heart, and they're going to make some mistakes, but they have a foundation. And if they know that we love them and we won't judge them, no matter what happens, then they're more likely to come to us when they're confronted or when they get into trouble or when they make a mistake. They're going to say, I made a big mistake and I'm really scared. Help me. And we'll be there to support them. But if when they come to us, we say, oh, you fool, how could you do that? But we will be losing them for a long time. And then they will not come to us for support. And they might go to their friends who may not really give them the best support. So as far as teenagers go, compassion. I don't think we can have too much compassion in the world. There is so much pain in the world. We couldn't have too much compassion to compensate for all the pain in the world. You see the great acharyas, the ones that are Babajis, they're praying. They know that there are so many suffering souls. Advaita Acharya prayed, there are so many suffering souls. Please, Lord, you need to come down and really help. So what can we do to help? We can learn compassion. We can learn compassion, and we can not just learn the formula of compassion. We can start imbibing the practice so much every day that we actually start to become and feel genuine compassion. That's what practice does. The more you practice compassion, the more you start to actually feel it. We were talking yesterday in the class about how Prabhupada told that one person who didn't want to pay obeisances, well, you just pretend, or just, and we use the word instead practice. You practice paying obeisances, and then at some point you'll feel authentic respect and obeisances, and you'll want to do it. So we can practice compassion, and as we practice it, it will start to develop our heart muscle, and we'll actually begin to genuinely feel compassion. Let me see what time it is. Okay, so give me a couple more questions, and then I want to bring up the last principle, and then we'll have some more questions. Oh, okay, so I go like this. Yes. Okay. Okay, I have to take my glasses off to read them. You can read them, that would be better.
Mataji, you said that if we suppress our emotions, then we are also suppressing love.
Mm.
So what should we do? What should we do when our emotions like anger, greed, envy, pride, illusion, lust comes up? Because what I understood was we shouldn't suppress our emotions from one part of today's session.
Yes, yes, you did get that part. Great. Suppressing our emotions just pushes them down, and then they fester and they grow stronger. What we do with our emotions is we name them. Okay, I'm feeling angry. Okay, that's on this side of the card. I'm feeling angry. What do I need? I need some respect. I need some appreciation. Maybe I need some comfort. It depends on the circumstance. But when the feeling comes up, we use it as an indicator. The feeling is trying to show us something, and we need to look deeper. What is under the feeling? We use the feeling only as an indicator. We don't become overwhelmed with the feeling. When it comes up, we look at what we need. We don't suppress, and at first we might not express the emotion. We might just name it, and we might just start by naming it to ourselves. Now, when we first start practicing compassionate communication, we might say, I'm feeling very angry because I need some appreciation, and you need to appreciate me. Okay, that's practice number one. That may not feel very compassionate to the other person, and they may not be able to hear our expression in that tone of voice. However, it's better than calling them names. So it's one step up from saying you're a jerk or whatever. So it's one step up from blaming the person, is expressing with that intensity. Now, sometimes when we haven't been able to express our emotions for a long time, our first expressions may be quite obnoxious. So it's kind of almost like a teenager. A teenager kind of has to be, a child has to pretty much be seen and not heard. Children don't generally always get to express themselves. Either the parents may be too busy, they may not be emotionally aware, they may have tons of unprocessed emotions themselves. They may not know what to do with emotions. So when a child becomes a teenager, now they're going to start expressing their emotions. However, it may come out a little obnoxious because it's been suppressed for so long. So it may seem like teenagers are rebellious and obnoxious. That's generally the first way we express things because they've been compressed for so long. The next phase is when we actually move into maturity and we learn how to say, you know, when you told me you didn't want to help me, I felt really sad and disappointed. And because I need support, I need encouragement, and I depend on you a lot. That's a different way to express it. So it may take some practice for us to get to that point the first person we may want to express it to is ourselves. You might want to start by just writing your emotions and writing your needs. It's a way to get it out without being obnoxious on another person. Just sit down and say, oh, they didn't help me and nobody understood and they didn't include me and I had to stay back and everybody got to go to the yatra and whatever it is. You write it down, write down your frustration, write down your emotions, name them, name what you needed. As you practice that, you'll become more aware and self-aware of yourself. And that's self-compassion when you write it. And then after a while, you'll learn to do it in your own head. You won't have to write it. So that's the answer to that question. You got the next one?
Are you satisfied?
Are you satisfied with that? Thank you.
The connected question maybe, but a connected question maybe if needs are more than what is supposed to be as per the regulative principles.
If the needs are something more than the regulative principles, okay, that's a little confusing. I'm feeling a little confused. I'm not quite sure. Maybe you're talking about, I mean, I don't want to name it, but I mean, but eating, I'll go to something simple. Eating more than required. Okay. So sometimes we may eat more than required. It depends on where we are. We gotta, if we're so frustrated and irritated, sometimes we do need to balance out our stress by eating or running around the block or doing other things. We may need to do that. That indication, like you said, if it's outside of the regulative principles, which I'm not going to exactly go into the details, then we might understand that, okay, so maybe I'm very stressed out. Is there any way I can lower my stress level? Maybe it's not outside the purview of the regulative principles. Maybe it's my interpretation of the regulative principles that's a little off. So I'm not exactly clear how to answer that, but we want to just be curious and investigate. Why am I so stressed out that I feel that I need to do this? And then I beat myself up that I'm doing this. So that sounds like something more that we could talk about at another time, maybe on a personal level. That's my feeling on that. Okay. Why do we lack to identify our pain? Well, we don't like pain. We don't like pain, and we think pain is Maya. If I'm in pain, then I must not be Krishna conscious. We think pain is bad, and we do everything we can to avoid pain. So if a painful emotion comes up, we want to avoid it. So we might push it down. We might distract ourselves by going on our phone. We might become a workaholic like I did. We do everything we can to avoid our pain. So say you have a little pain in your body, but you avoid it, you deny it, you disregard it. And then it becomes a little more, and say you're a man, so men are a little bit sometimes more tolerant to pain physically. And then the pain gets really bad and you go to the doctor and he says, you have stage 3 cancer. And he said, how long have you had this pain? Oh, over a year. Well, why didn't you come to me before? We don't address our pain because we're used to just avoiding it. We do something to distract from it. We don't address our pain because we're afraid of what it's going to tell us. Or maybe we're in denial. Maybe we believe we're infallible and we think, oh, it's nothing. It's nothing. Krishna's going to take care of me. I'm a devotee. Nothing bad is going to happen to me. It could be so many reasons, but we generally avoid pain. But in that avoidance of pain, we don't get sometimes the messages that we need. And the stage 3 cancer might be cancer to our consciousness, not necessarily even our body. It could be stage 3 cancer to our consciousness. We might become really angry and revengeful. So that's a different kind of cancer. Go ahead.
Yes. Other question here is, sometimes we don't understand our feelings or label it, then what to do?
Sometimes we don't understand our feelings and
What to do in that case?
what to do when we don't understand our feelings.
Yes.
Well, the first thing to do, again, I can send these out. I can give these to you.
We'll share with
Yeah,
you
we
about
can
it.
share this card. Not that we necessarily really need to understand the whole feeling, but we need to understand what we're feeling. We need to name what we're feeling. There's a big difference between feeling anger and feeling sadness. Those are two different feelings. So we may not understand the whole thing, but we need to name the difference in the feeling, because when we understand and name the feeling, then we can have a sense of what it is we need.
Right.
And then that understanding the need then helps us to find positive, creative, compassionate ways to get our needs met.
Yeah. The connected question to the previous question, Mataji, was if we understand there is some pain and we want to give attention, what is a healthy way of addressing the pain? Like, is it going through the feelings of the pain and then trying to find out the need?
Yeah, well, yeah. The healthy way to address any pain is to find out what is the pain. Name the pain. Is it physical pain? Is it mental pain? Is it emotional pain? What is the pain? Is it worried pain? Is it furious pain? Is it bored pain? Is it numb pain? Numbness, by the way, is a pain. Numbness is a feeling. I have a finger, I cut the nerve in my hand and my finger's numb. It feels very weird. It's a feeling, but we tend to numb out sometimes, but numbness is a feeling.
Yeah.
So we want to take the feeling and discover what is it we need. The need is like, that's the cash prize, the treasure of compassionate communication, finding out what we need.
Sometimes there are certain feelings where like the needs won't satisfy the feeling. I'll give example, like somebody's fearful that one's child may get into, let's Maya. That is a fear.
Okay.
And one can't do much about that, right? So how to address such kind of feelings which have no connect, the needs can't be satisfied, those feelings, right? Certain
So
feelings.
I have a fear. I have a need for the safety and well-being of my child.
Yeah.
I love my child.
Like when the traffic is there outside, we can't do much about that, right? Safety.
But we can acknowledge
Right.
that I have a feeling and a need for the safety and the well-being of my child. So then, well, I can't necessarily predict the future or protect them in every circumstance, but then there is Krishna, and Krishna can protect them. So maybe I can meet my need by praying to Krishna. Krishna, whenever I'm in anxiety about my child being hurt, I'm going to pray to you and I'm going to say, please, Krishna, you protect my child. I really have a need for my child to be protected. That's the way you can meet your need in that moment. I know how it is. I'm a mother and my kids are grown, but sometimes you just worry. You just want your kids to be okay. And I can't, they're adults. What can I, And so I pray.
Yeah.
And that relieves my feelings and my need in the moment.
Yeah. Thank you. There's one more question. I had lost that question because my Zoom got crashed.
Okay.
Pallavi Mataji had asked, you would like to repeat that question? Okay. There's another question is also till the
Should
time
I
she
look
asked.
at it? Who is it by? Who is it by? Do you know?
I'll check it out. I'll ask her. The new question is also till that time. Hmm.
You want to look here?
Parle- parle-
I think it's down. Just tell me if you like this.
We are not getting exactly. She may ask how to heal what we had hurted us in the somebody has hurted us in the past.
How to heal what the hurt in the past. Okay, that's a great question. It's a detailed question, but hurts in the past often cause trauma, and that trauma again is stored in the body. So, when we practice compassionate communication, it may help us to more deeply understand the hurt that we are feeling without blaming the person in the past. We may more deeply understand what needs of ours were not met and what needs of ours we still have. Now, healing the pain from the past, we may need to do certain healing modalities, which address the trauma in our central nervous system, the trauma in our physical body. And if it's severe trauma, we may need a trauma therapist. And so we want to take the support that we need to heal. And so we can try different modalities of healing. And if something works, then we can, just keep doing that, because it does take a certain degree of healing, and it depends on what the hurt in the past was. Some hurts we can just address and we can understand, and we can practice forgiveness, and we may be able to heal it ourselves. Some other areas we may need support with, and we may need the support of a therapist, or we may need to do research and study different healing modalities. If you get these two books, I do address a lot of different kind of healing modalities that actually do work. And you could try any number of those. That's all I can say right now. Please, from the audience. Can you have the mic? Yeah. We have an answer from the audience here. An answer? Question, okay.
Mataji, how to draw? You are able to hear?
I can hear you
Yeah.
now, yeah.
How to draw boundaries? Because it is said that good neighbors has good boundaries.
Uh-huh.
So when our needs are not met by the other person, then actually, because we are in an interdependent society, we can heal ourselves, but sometimes we are dependent on others for our needs. For example, we need love, and the other person, for him, yelling is the form of giving love. But for us, love is, we want love in a different way. So there is a difference of, the way we see, I see love and where he see loves.
Uh-huh.
He see the love. So when that is there, then we need to draw boundaries, because good neighbors have good boundaries. So when we want to draw the boundary, then how do we, express that, so that, in that way, we are also safe and he is also safe. Otherwise, if boundaries are not very clear, then, the neighbors are coming here and there is always a fight. Hey,
Yes.
you have crossed my boundary.
Yes.
So, how
Yes.
to draw a proper boundary, we can coexist
Yes.
harmoniously with the people
Yes.
around.
In relationships, in a neighborhood, a clear boundary is made with a fence, an actual fence. And in India, I think they make brick walls, because you got to make your boundary, and you got to make your boundary right away. Otherwise, people come on your property and that's it, right? That's what happens in India. So you make a wall physically. In relationships, the best way to make a boundary is to give some kind of a clear indication to the other person in a compassionate way. Maybe like, let me think of an example. Well, a person may want to give us advice a lot. And we could just say, thank you, and not make any comment on it, and not necessarily, or thank you for your perspective. And then if they say, you're not doing what I told you to do, then you could compassionately say, well, I heard your advice. And I'm I'm wondering if that was a request or was that a demand that I do that? And so then you can have a conversation and say, I may not be able to do that. So you want to be clear in your communication, unless the person gets subtle messages. If they get a subtle message and you just kind of like, and they get the message that way, then you may not have to be able to clearly say it. So otherwise, if you can clearly say it to the person, then that helps. I'll give one example from my own life. One woman used to come up to me and talk to me all the time, and she would talk a lot and she would download a lot of her life. And she didn't really, she didn't ask me if I had the time. She just sat down and started talking. So one day she said to me, "Will you be my friend?" And I said, "Well, let me think about that. I'll get back to you tomorrow." And so then I got back with her and I said, the next day, I said, "Well, the few friends that I do have, we have no expectations from each other. If I don't talk to my friend for 6 months or even a year, they don't mind. And then when we talk, we're completely connected, just like there was no time space, and we have no requirements from one another." So that's the kind, those are the people that I consider my friends. So if you want to be that kind of a friend and you have no expectations, then you could be my friend. And of course it never happened, but I was very clear with the boundaries, and I did it in a respectful way, because that's really how it is with my friends, people that I consider my friendship. So, and I did it in a respectful way. So clear boundaries. I didn't make her wrong. I didn't say anything. I just understood that friendship would be very draining and time consuming for me. And I didn't have that time. So that's that. Now I want to get, before we get too far, this brought up the last part of compassionate communication, part number 4, which is requests. Okay. And this is an important part of compassionate communication, because if I say, when I hear you say you don't want to help me with my project, I feel really frustrated. I have a need for support and encouragement. And we stop there. It feels a little bit to the other person like, and you're not giving me any support and encouragement. It feels a little bit like a blame. However, when we make a request, would you be willing, and these are the key words, would you be willing? Would you be willing? Those are key words. They're really helpful. Would you be willing? Would you be willing to help for 1 hour with the planning? I won't ask you for any more than that. I know your schedule is tight. Would you be willing to help for 1 hour with the planning, and maybe give me some ideas of other people who might be able to support me? Would you be willing to do that? Now, when we make a request is simple. It's got to be doable. It's got to be time bound. It's got to be specific. It can't be like, I don't want you to ever yell at me again. Would you be willing to never yell at me again? I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. You can't, that's not a request, because it's not possible. Okay, the next time you get upset and I raise my hand to indicate that you're getting upset, would you be willing to, can we take a pause before we have a conversation? That's a doable request. Now, the other person, that's a doable request. Now, the other thing about a request is the person on the other side has the option to say yes or no. And the way we know it's a real request is if they say no, we're okay with that. Or if they say no, we could make a counter proposal. Okay, would you be able to help for 30 minutes? No. would you be willing to give me a few names? And then if they say no, we're like, okay, I got it. Thank you. I mean, we don't have to make 3 counter proposals, but we make a request. We allow them to say yes or no, and then we can make a counter proposal. And if they say no, we respect that boundary then. That's a request. If we don't respect the boundary, if we don't respect the no, if we don't make the request, what we share feels like a demand. And a demand feels like force, and nobody wants to be forced. And if we try to force other people, what's the law of karma? For every action, for everything we push in this direction, there's an equal amount of energy coming back this way. So when we force this way, it may come back to us in a forceful way. You're so pushy. You're so demanding. And then we don't feel very good. So I hope that was helpful. I have 2 questions here and I have 1 question here. So can he have the mic, please? And then we'll take the 2 questions online. Okay.
In the same continuation, like generally some people due to the previous conditioning are very pushy. So we trying to be very sensitive with them. So they come to us and they say that, Projay, I want this help like that. So one time we help, we extend and help, but then that gives a message to them that we are free, we don't have much work. So they keep on pushing again and again. So now if we do service to them once, then we feel it's okay. But again and again, if they keep on pushing and dragging,
Yes.
then if we tell them no, then they get hurt immediately. So we are not able to do service, nor we are able to get rid or say no. So what
we're
are the right
unable
words to be used or the approach?
Well, I'm hearing you say you're unable to say no. Why are you unable to say no? That would be my question. What is it in you? What does no mean? If you say no, what does that mean?
When I say no means the person will feel hurt that if I say no.
Okay, if I say no, I'm going to hurt people. Are you feeling hurt by pushing yourself to do everything that they want?
First time not, but second time, third time, yes.
Okay, for every yes, what are you saying no to? If you say yes to them, are you saying no to yourself? Are you? You might be, right?
Yes.
Yes, if I'm saying yes to this person, I might be saying no to myself, which means I'm not maintaining a clear boundary, which means I'm not being compassionate to myself. And if I'm not being compassionate to myself, ultimately, if it happens 3 or 4 times, I might get very angry at this person and tell everybody he's pushy, right?
Yes.
So the earlier we catch it, the easier it is to disseminate it. The longer we let it go on, the more force it will come back with us when we say no. I was a yes person for 27 years to one particular person, a mentor. You can't imagine how upset that person was when I started saying no. But I wasn't mad that that person was upset, because I understood I had said yes, and I had created an image that I'm going to say yes every time you ask me for something.
One more observation that if we go on doing, then expectation keeps on increasing, and they are not able to bear saying us no.
Right.
Correct.
So for you, my question is, what has you not, what does a no mean about you? I'm going to hurt another person. What else does no mean? What does no mean? When we say no, what do we make that mean?
There are many things which we make, like no means that he doesn't want to do service.
No means I don't want to do service. No means I'm uncooperative. No means, no means I'm a bad person. No means I'm selfish.
Not ready to extend. So like they
No means I'm not surrendered. Does no really mean all of that? Or is our meaning making mind just making that up?
there are 2 things. One is our mind is making it up, and second is the situation has been created some places in that way.
Okay. So then the more we're clear, yes, Prabhu, I hear you need help with your project. I understand that you've come to me many times and I have helped you. And really, I'd like to help you. If I were Krishna, I'd like to help a lot of devotees and I'd like to help you. However, I'm discovering that I'm actually pretty limited. I'm a Jiva Tattva and I have a lot on my plate. And if I say yes to you, I will actually be dismissing people I've already said yes to. I will be compromising on the quality of what I've already said yes to. And I actually won't be able to do what you're asking me to do with the amount of quality that you really deserve. And so I'm saying no out of respect for you and out of respect to the other people that I've already said yes to. And one of those people might be you, like yourself, but you don't have to say that. Does that make sense?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. I'd love to say yes to everybody. We all want to say yes to everybody. We do. It's our nature. We want to serve. We want to do it. We're not Krishna. How much can we do with integrity without feeling upset and without enabling another person? There's a lot of projects that go on in ISKCON, and there's a lot of stress, and there's a lot of lack of manpower. Somewhere along the line, when we say no, then maybe this person will have to say no to this person, will have to say no to this person, and maybe we won't try to do so many projects maybe we'll consider the manpower we actually have rather than thinking, oh, Krishna will provide the manpower, Krishna will provide the money. That's true. However, are we creating a culture of stress? Just a question, not a judgment, just a question. So we have to be really honest. So if we're honest with ourselves, we can be honest with another. Whether they can be honest or not, that's between them and Krishna. But at least we can be honest. That makes sense?
Like what I try is I say that I'll try if possible, but that this is better than what you said is better than what.
Try if it's possible. That's, I really don't want to hurt you, but I really don't want to say yes.
I agree that actually what you said is more.
So be more clear.
Clear.
Be really clear. I actually have a lot on my plate. And if I say yes to you, I'm going to be able to do the things I already said yes to. And you're not going to get the quality you deserve. And these people aren't either. And I said yes to them first. So if I were Krishna, I would do it. I'm sorry. I'm just a Jiva Tattva. It doesn't mean I don't like you. And it doesn't mean I don't honor your project. I just can't do it. You can even say those things too. You probably won't hurt him if you say all that. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now we have two other questions online. I'm sorry, I paid attention to the people in reality here. I hope the people online got something from that communication.
I think there are no questions.
The people they raised their hand.
Achha, achha. They won't.
So which one is first?
written
This one or
question.
this one?
Anybody?
Okay, so can you read the name? Because I can't see it.
Raghuveer Prabhu and Vimal Rupanitai Prabhu.
Okay. So
Raghuveer Prabhu would like to ask.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Rindavani Priya here, Raghuveer's mother. Mataji, thank you so much for wonderful session. My question is, what is the difference between suppressing and controlling? Means always we say, na, we need to control the anger. So how to understand the difference between suppressing and controlling emotions?
good question. I probably would use the word managing rather than controlling, because controlling usually turns out to be suppressing. I'm controlling my anger. I'm controlling my mind, right? It's some kind of a forceful pushing, right? Managing, I'm managing my time. I'm managing my emotions. I'm looking at my emotions and I'm balancing them and I'm seeing what I need. I'm managing my emotions. I'm managing my mind. So I like to use the word managing rather than controlling. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. I choose that word because controlling has come to mean suppressing. Does that make sense? Thank you. And there's
Yes,
one last, I'm sorry?
Yes, Mataji, thank you so much.
There's one last person. I can't read the name. Vimalrupa Itai.
Hare Krishna Mataji
Hare
Dandutranam.
Krishna. Hare Bol.
I'm feeling very happy, Mataji, to express my question. Mataji, in our
Thank you for expressing your emotions. Which one of your needs were met? You're
Mataji
feeling
have
happy.
a small because my mind doubts are getting cleared in this session. That's why.
So you're getting clarity. Your need for clarity and understanding has been met. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, Mataji, I have the question. Due to any reason, also not, but in our association, some of the devotees don't like us. But we don't know what is our mistake, what we done with
Is
them.
that what you said?
Yes, Mataji. Uh,
So,
uh,
okay. Is that your question?
Yeah, how to behave with them? We don't know the reason what we done, but they are not liking us. How to please them and how to serve them better? My question is this.
Okay. Some devotees don't like us. Okay. Well, some devotees probably don't like me, but some devotees, we don't like necessarily everybody because we generally more gel with people who are like-minded. And some devotees, maybe we're not so like-minded. So we may not gel. Now, when you say some devotees don't like me, I'm not sure if that's actually the truth. I mean, did they say to you, I don't like you? Did they tell you, I don't like you?
No, Mataji.
Okay, so then that might be an interpretation. What did they do that makes you think that they don't like you?
Mostly when they won't talk, don't talk with me, or with their behavior, they always hurt me. That's the reason.
So they don't talk to you and you feel hurt when they don't talk to you.
Yeah, yes, Mataji.
Okay, so the observation is they don't talk to you. You made that mean they don't like me. They don't talk to you. There could be a lot of reasons. They don't know how to talk to you. They don't know how to relate to you. They're busy. They have a lot on their mind. They don't talk to anybody. There could be any innumerable other kind of interpretations you make of that. Your mind has added the meaning that they don't like you.
Yes.
Maybe you want them to like you. You want to have a relationship with them. Is that the case, that you want to have a relationship with this specific person?
Yes, Mataji, I want the association of the devotee.
With this specific person?
No, not
No.
specifically, but like 2-3 devotees are there like that.
Okay.
I seen similarly.
Is there any of them that you feel that you can connect to?
Yeah, I means from my side I'm talking, but what's the reason I don't know. I observed from their side they always be like same only.
Well, I'm sensing that, if you want to develop a relationship with a person, relationship and talking is a two-way street. Do you talk to them?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Do you start a conversation? Are you interested in what they're doing? Do you ask them questions?
Yes, Mataji. I asked it 2-3 times.
Okay. And then what do? They don't answer you?
No, they not answered, like they are like they how means they're not answered and they moved from that place actually.
They won't what?
They not answered and they moved from that place.
Their mood?
They moved
Oh, they
from
move
that
away.
place.
They move away. Well,
Yeah.
I guess they're trying to give you a message. They don't want to talk to you for some reason. It doesn't mean they don't like you. It doesn't necessarily mean they don't like you. They just don't want to talk to you. Who knows why they don't want to talk to you? So maybe you could find somebody who's a little bit more congenial and wants to talk to you. You know, if somebody doesn't want to talk to me, why do I want to make a demand that they talk to me? That's not going to make the relationship friendly. Let's find somebody who wants to talk to you. Find somebody else.
Yes, sure, Mataji. That is better.
That's a better idea than trying to force somebody who
Correct.
doesn't want to talk to you to talk to you. And it doesn't mean they don't like you. It just means for whatever reason, they don't want to talk to you. Okay?
It's a wonderful answer, Mataji. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think it's time. It's now 8:32, right? I have a thing about integrity. I like to keep time because I know people have services and things they like to do. I just did want to say that one thing, if anybody wants to get copies of these books, it's going to really, provide a lot of information, not just about compassion, but about our own operating systems. I have copies here in Pune. If any of you are close to Pune, I'm giving a Bhagavatam class here tomorrow and in Kunjabi Hari Temple on Wednesday, and I'll have books with me.
I also told them they can drop me a mail. I shared my mail ID.
And he's sharing his mail ID. So if we can get a sense of how many people want the books, it's a set of 2 books. It's a total of 700 pages, and it's 800 rupees for the 2 books. And that will help me to cover the cost of the printing. These are brand new books. They're only 10 weeks old. And I've put 2 years of time into really sharing all my mistakes of how I had no boundaries, how I didn't know how to say no, how I didn't know how to express my feelings, how I suppressed all my feelings, and how sick that made me, and how much it interfered with my Krishna consciousness and my relationships. So I wrote these books so everybody doesn't have to make the same mistakes I made. And they're for you if you choose. So thank you so much for your time, for your attention, for your questions. I hope that the class was of value and relevant and practical. Jai Shila Prabhupada, and thank you so much. And now our MC has something to say.
Hare
Here.
Krishna. So we are so grateful to Mataji. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known as Karuna Avatar, who is the Karuna Avatar, is incarnation of compassion. And to express our compassion, first of all, we need to know what other person needs are there. Unless we properly know the needs of other person, we cannot offer our compassion properly. So Mataji very nicely expressed. We understand our own feelings, and by that we understand our own feelings. We will also learn to understand what are others feeling, and that we will be able to more effectively share our compassion with others. So we are so grateful that very effectively Mataji shared her message, and so many devotees online, almost 100 devotees joined.
Thank you.
Grateful that all of you came at very short notice. Thank you very much. Let's thank Mataji by chanting loudly Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
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 Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare Ram,
Rama Rama.
Hare. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you very much, Mataji.
I hope to see some of you tomorrow or the next day. That would be nice. Hare Krishna. Haribo.
Hare Krishna,
Haribo.
Mataji. Thank you so much.
And thank you all for coming.